Hi, and welcome. My name is TV's Noah Houlihan, and I'm a podcaster, and I am joined by Jeff Stormer, who is also a podcaster, and we've worked on podcasts for quite some time. But you know what's really important? It's the games we made along the way.
We really got it down. We got it. We got it the third time, and we really hit it. We hit it this time.
It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. So, this is a show where once a month we get together and we play games that we have created. So, this is a game that was challenged for me to create by one Mr. Jeff Stormer. After playing his fantastic game, Keeping Watch. There's a fly in here. Sorry. I panicked.
Get him. Get its ass.
We played his game, The Watch, which he uses his mechanic, map hacking, which I always want to say is map jacking for some reason.
Nope. Much different. Not Twitch appropriate.
So, at the end of his game, he challenged me to create a game based off his suggestion, which was making a podcast. And
I was like, what's the most out there pitch that I could possibly give you? And I feel like I'm excited to see what monstrosity this is taking shape as.
Well, let me tell you, Jeff, I suffered with this game idea for a while. I created a total of 4 games and just kept scrapping them because I didn't like them. So
I would like to talk after we're done here. I want to talk about before we're done the stream. I do want to hear about the ideas that didn't make it.
Oh no, we're going on this journey now because
you
need to hear what happened.
Good.
So the first game I created was a game where you were doing a podcast and you were trying to trick your co-host into saying certain phrases. And as I was writing it, I realized I wrote that game already.
You wrote that game for this stream series.
For this show. It was called Taco Bell and Lugosi, and it was the same game, but less good because there were no tacos.
Yeah, right.
So
instead of eating a food that brings us joy, we're doing podcasting, a thing that has never brought anyone joy in the history of the medium.
Not a single human being. No. Then I created a game where basically you made a character and they were going on an adventure, but you told it through various podcasts. So it was kind of like you did a podcast about true crime and this person was involved in a crime, and then the next podcast was like a watch along for Cheers, and it was like, so we're watching Cheers, but did you hear about this guy? And then I realized this is an improv game. There's just channel surfing, but with podcasts, so it's just less accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Then I created a game where it was a podcast festival, and it was like a party game. I was like, maybe this game isn't an RPG. Maybe it's a party game.
Okay, sure.
So you made a bunch of different podcasts, and you got together with your friends, and you tried to make the best podcast. But then the thing that really struck me is your prompt was not make a game about podcasts.
Right.
It was to make a game about making podcasts. So I wanted this to be about making a podcast. And someone that I know, and I won't use names because I'm about to dunk on him, wrote a book. And the book had the word Toolkit in the title. And I bought the book. I spat, excuse me. I bought the book, and it wasn't a toolkit, it was a lecture. So this is the podcasting toolkit. This is a series of exercises that we will go through that will end with making you a better podcaster. And then I worked on this game, and then I realized this isn't a game, this is a book. So I wrote a book, Jeff. And we're going to do some of it, because I realized if we do the whole book on stream, there's no reason in selling the book.
That's
fair.
Because
I put it all on free on Twitch. So we're going to do a bunch of exercises that will make you a better podcaster. And usually what we do with this show is a few days before we send each other the rules to kind of... I've kept all the rules
You have
away
done
from
nothing.
Jeff.
You have done none of that, and it has actually made me more excited because, like, I now have no idea what is about to happen here today.
So we are going to do a series of podcasts for you, and each one will make it better and make us better podcasters.
Okay.
Now,
all right.
To begin, I'm going to ask you. The idea is that this makes your podcast better, or if you're thinking of starting a podcast, you do these first to kind of get yourself ready. So
Sure.
I will ask, do you have another podcast idea that's been kicking around in your mind that you've been thinking about doing?
Let me think about this. I almost certainly do, and I want to grab one that, like, I have a resource for. I am going to steal some ideas that I have offered up to other people.
Okay, all right, cool.
And this is where I'm also going to give a plug to a thing that I dearly love, which is another podcast, which is called the podcast The Mind's There, but for the grace of Pod Go We, which is my good friends Riley Lear Hopkins and Andrew Sherman, who do they take listener submitted prompts for either the title or content of a podcast, and then they talk about what that podcast would be. I have tweeted them what appears to be possibly dozens, if not upwards of. I've tweeted them dozens of different pitches for podcasts. So I'm just going to grab one that makes me laugh.
Okay, that sounds good. Now, what I am going to say while you're looking for that, to the chat, there will be times where I might ask you guys for maybe some prompts. But basically, the way it works right now is every time we do an exercise, I have a list of 60-some podcasts that I've come up with. And we're going to do them. And that's going to make us stronger for when we do the real podcast, which is what Jeff will ask for. So I'll need a number between 1 and 60 at some times. And then depending on the podcast you pick, I might need a little bit more from you guys. But I want there to be some chat interaction with this. And usually a big mechanic of this game is going to be you do a podcast and then you listen back to it.
Yeah.
That fly came back. You listen back to it. We're not really going to be doing, we're not going to be listening back to it because you guys are here to basically tell us how we did. So that's very important as well. So thank you for that, for being here for the show. And also, I can't believe I did not mention this, but it's Fancy Friday, which is why this is why Jeff is in a suit.
It's Friday. I'm here to party.
Yeah, not to talk about how like the sausage is made or anything, but my idea for this show was I was the red guy and Jeff was the blue guy because those are like the two opposing colors in your average board game. So that's why I went with red t-shirt. Completely forgetting it was Fancy Friday.
But for the record, this is not only is this a navy blue suit, I'm also wearing a blue and white striped shirt.
Jeff,
so
you don't need to make any excuses. Like,
you
are appropriate for Fancy Friday and the show. I am not.
I wanted very specifically to note that I was like, I got to do Fancy Friday, but I needed to commit to the bit of the show, which is I needed to make my outfit blue.
Perfect. So I appreciate that. Jeff, do you have a show that you want to
I do. The title of the show is I'm going to give you the show and the pitch. The title of the show is Inside the Shitposter Studio.
Okay.
And the premise of the show is that we look at the host is an interview podcast where the host looks at garbage post tweets that the guest has made and talks about the process that goes into making a terrible joke tweet.
Oh, okay. All right. So we're gonna try to launch your new show.
Yes.
Where I guess you're gonna read my Twitter at some point. This is gonna be great.
We could also read my Twitter is immaculate. So if you would like,
dude. You don't. I'm not good at Twitter. You're great at Twitter. So.
If you would like me to read my tweets and talk about the art.
No, I mean this is your show, so it would be your show. So you would be evaluating the tweets, which is fine. But we're not going to do your show right away because here's the thing. First off, congratulations on wanting to get into the world of podcasting. you're about to embark on quite a journey where your show is instantly accessible to millions of people. But that being said, most podcasts suck. Like, really suck.
This is true.
So we're going to go through some exercises to make sure that you have all the tools in your toolbox to make sure that your show can be the best. Side note, the other games that I thought of, I've included as bonus at the end of this game/book.
I'm excited. I'm delighted.
So you can go ahead and check that out as well. So we're going to start with our first round. This is going to be your first recording. So we're going to start by throwing you right into the deep end, Jeff. You're going to record your first podcast here.
Okay.
Right? As someone who's never done a podcast before, you're going to record your first podcast. So go ahead. I'd like to, if you've bought this book, I assume that you have some sort of equipment or read the previous chapter, which hasn't been written yet because it's not part of the fun game part of this book. Set it up, and we're going to do a podcast based off of one of the random suggestions. I'm going to ask the chat right now to pick a number between 1 and 60. And what's going to happen is once we find out what the podcast is, we're immediately going to hit record. We're already recording. But we're going to hit record, and we're going to start doing a podcast for 3 minutes. So I'm going to set a 3-minute timer. And I am going to let you kind of drive the podcast here, Jeff, because this is your exercises here. So I'm going to set the timer here for...
Okay. I am ready. I have found the tweet that we are going to talk about for the next 3 minutes.
We don't want to do your show yet.
Oh, okay.
Because I'd feel bad to you're not ready to do your show. You got to do the exercises first.
Gotta do the exercise. No, you're right. You know, I'd be going in without stretching. You're right.
So we're gonna do podcast number 15 on my big list of podcasts, as suggested by Riverhouse Games.
All right.
Okay. And as soon as I tell you what the show is,
yeah.
As soon as I tell you what the show is, we have to start. So I'm pulling up the clock on my end here. We should probably do an on-screen clock, but I don't have time to set that up.
All right, fair.
That'll be for the YouTube people. All right, so
where can people watch this on YouTube if they wanted to see it with the ticking clock round?
Oh, that would be on Plus 2 Comedy Gaming on YouTube.
All right.
So we are going to be doing Eat the Rich, a podcast about recipes that use ingredients like gold, diamonds, and other currency.
Okay, sure.
All right, Jeff, take us away.
The thing is, really, like, the trick about it is, like, you know, everybody has had, it is summertime. Everybody's had that memory of the first soft serve cone on a hot day. And, like, what's better on a soft serve cone than, like, a chocolate dip or a cherry dip? You could just dip your ice cream in some gold leaf, and then you've got a delicious gold leaf dip. You've got a gold-coated ice cream cone. It is decadent. It's got that sheen to it. It is a wonderful, edible luxury experience. Take that even a little bit further. You can, you know what's going to make it a really sweet, savory flavor?
What's that?
A little bit of truffle oil. A little bit of truffle oil mixed into your homemade ice cream. You mix that in.
Really?
You put that in with the gold leaf.
Now, have you actually had a burger with gold leaf on it?
I personally have never.
I have. I've had a gold leaf burger.
Right.
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that gold tastes like nothing. If you told me that there was gold in everything, I'd believe you.
Okay, sure.
But actually getting to see gold on your meal is such an amazing experience. There is something incredible to be like, wow, this is gold. This is something that, like,
I'm eating gold.
Yeah, I'm just gonna now eat it with beef and cheese. You know?
Yeah. What an experience to make you go, I think I'm the villain in this story.
Yeah, because there's something incredible to just being like, to biting into gold and having the thought in your brain, this needs ketchup.
All right, so here's the deal. I have to disappear for like 5 minutes before we go further.
This is the end of the podcast?
Yes.
Jeff is gone. Jeff is gone. Okay. How long into the podcast did we even get? We have 45 seconds left of podcast. I'm going to go full screen for a moment. So you don't just see weird picture of Jeff. Yeah. He told me he was expecting a call in like an hour. But I guess they called an hour early. So I can't go full screen because of the mode I'm in. In any case, I'll put up a bigger picture of Jeff here for when this goes to YouTube. But I'm gonna let you guys in on the secret. Jeff fell into like a lot of the trap. Oh, he's back.
All right, I'm back.
Everything okay, bud?
Yeah, there's some stuff that needs to get fixed on the car, but it's all good.
All right. So, the timer just now went off.
All right.
So, what we're gonna do now is we're gonna review and we're gonna let our commenters here tell us how we did on this show. Let me pull up my rules again. All right, so you've now recorded your first episode of a podcast ever. Congratulations to you on making this big step.
I made it. We did it. It was great.
In the world of podcasting. So here's lesson number 1. Did you know that when someone listens to a podcast for the first time, the average listening time is only 3 minutes? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
That's 100% true. When someone tries a brand new podcast, they usually only give it 3 minutes. That's why we set the timer for only 3 minutes for this podcast.
Good to know.
So it's important in that first podcast that you hit the following things that are important. What is this show? Who are the hosts? What is this episode about? And is there anything previously on the show that is important? So I will ask our commenters how we did here. But I will say, it seemed to me, Jeff, that we started as if it was minute 20 of this podcast.
We did. In fact, the 5 things that you named, we did none of those 5 things.
None of those things. There was a point where I was like, I don't know if I'm part of the podcast or if Jeff thinks he's going in solo.
That, you know what? Also valid.
People are saying that for our first podcast, it was pretty good. So that's pretty good. But I will say, we never said the name of the show. We never said our names.
No.
And we did just kind of talk randomly about things related to the topic.
Yeah, we sort of did. We sort of went on some tangents. Taking the phone call and leaving that audio in was a real amateur mistake.
This is good. It'll be raw. That's something that comes up later in my documents of just like the importance of editing and thinking that you're the cool podcast that doesn't cut anything out is the worst thing in the world.
You are like, this is me dropping the bit for like a half a second. And granted, like, I know all of the names that I see in the chat, so like I know that I am preaching to the choir here, but like, you are not the cool podcaster who does not need to edit. Mm-hmm. For the love of goodness and the love of John Cena, please edit your podcasts.
Yeah. This comes from a guy that did like 200 episodes in a store and thought it would be good if it sounded like it was from a store. Yeah, edit your podcast.
Editing is important.
So now we're going to head into round 2. So with these new rules in mind, you now have a better idea of what you should hit in those 3 minutes. So in those 3 minutes, I'm going to set the clock again for 3 minutes.
Okay.
You want to make sure you want to say who we are. And we can be characters if you want, just saying. What the name of the show is, and you want to grab the viewer, so the listener in this count. So we got 3 minutes to do that. Chat, I'm going to need another number. If you could give me another number, that'd be killer. As I, once again, pull up a clock that you cannot see. We go to the big list of podcasts. I'm not getting a number from the chat.
I mean, I'll give us a number, but you know what number.
Well, what number are you going to give us, Jeff?
Gotta go number 6. Gotta know what number 69 is.
I said I had 60.
Oh no, we got 35.
Yeah, 35. All right. Oh my God, that's my favorite one.
I'm so excited.
We are going to be doing a podcast called One Safe Door.
Okay.
In a dungeon, there are 2 doors. One leads to safety, the other death. There are 2 guards. One always tells the truth, and the other one always lies. And this is a weekly podcast about what's going on in the dungeon by those 2 guards.
Got it.
All right, I'm starting the clock.
Start the clock.
Go.
There are 2 guards standing against the doorway. One always tells the truth, one always lies. 2 doors. One to safety, one to damnation. A great hero will walk through one of these doors and face their ultimate fate. This is not the story of that day. This is the story of every other day. This is one safe door. So,
Hello. My name is Ugg. I'm the guard that always tells the truth.
well, this is a bit awkward because my name is Roy, and I'm in fact also the guard that always tells the truth.
Don't listen to Frank. He always lies. Don't worry, Ugg's got your back. And I'm going to tell you the truth about what's going on in the dungeon.
I'm telling you straight up, Ugg always lies.
Well, I said my name was Ugg. So there you go. So welcome to the dungeon. Frank, how's your day been?
My day has been actually terrible. Things have not been going great. I did not find any money on the ground today. No matter what you hear, no matter what you think, I found no money on the ground today. In fact, I lost money. I lost $20 on the ground today.
That's very interesting because someone stole $20 from me today.
That is also that happened to me.
Oh,
I can't believe that. If you can believe it, I also lost $20 today.
Oh, interesting. Well, let's talk about what's going on here in the dungeon. So recently, the powers that be have been talking about taking our swords away and giving us tridents. What are you thinking about the tridents situation here?
I am personally not a fan of the trident. You can now. I know what you might be thinking. You're thinking, Frank, you have a trident tattoo. There's a trident currently slung over your shoulder. But listen, this is all obligation. There's no joy here. There's no joy here in the. What are your thoughts on this, Ugg?
I think the trident is a useful device. I think it's very helpful. I think it's the problem with the sword is that you can sheath it. Like, you're always at the ready with the trident. I'm all about work ethic here.
Honestly, I feel like it's ostentatious. You know, you've got 3 beautiful shining blades instead of 1, and frankly, I feel like that's too many blades.
And that was 3 minutes. So, I will ask the man, the chat super into Fancy Friday.
They're pretty hyper,
making me feel like a scumbag. But that was our second round, and I would definitely say we did a little bit better here. Well, how do you feel?
I feel like we hit the beats, and I feel like within those 3 minutes, I feel like we established our characters. We kind of established a little bit of the world. I feel like it was a much stronger start.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think it's a tough premise we drew.
We
drew a very difficult premise there, and but I love that idea of just listening to a podcast and being like, which one's lying and which one's telling the truth.
I think that was the hardest part, was sussing out which of us was going to play which character.
Well, the more I thought about it, it's like all you have to do is believe that you are the one telling the truth and the other one is lying, and it will work regardless.
This is true. In fact, now that we're talking through it, I do feel like that would be you could really lean into the trope that the podcast hosts don't like each other and make a really fun podcast about two hosts that don't like each other.
The more I thought about it, the more I really like this idea for a podcast.
That was fun. That's fun. And I'm excited about it.
So here's your evaluation. So now that you see what you need to accomplish, how did you do? Do you think you did a good job? You said yes. How clear do you think you were in getting the description of the podcast across?
I think that we hit it pretty well. I think it helped that it had like a very crystal clear premise that and being a fantasy based thing, I think we had the advantage that we could deploy a narrator. It was like, I think that gave us an edge in making the thing. Because that is a very like fantasy appropriate trope. But I think that we set the tone pretty nicely, and you know that opening narration, then inverting that and going like this is the other thing, I think established that pretty nicely. And I think the only thing that we probably could have done better on is there was a question about premise that I didn't get, that like I don't think we adequately answered, which was, are Ugg and Frank making a podcast?
Oh, yes. This was their podcast.
Okay, see, that's where I think the premise got lost, and where I think that I think we should have better clarified in those 3 minutes. I was unclear. I thought this was our day-to-day conversations. I did not think that this was our actual...
No, in their downtime, when they're not lying or telling the truth to prisoners, they had started a podcast.
Got it.
I love that idea. So
that's actually a lot of fun, and we should talk after.
Yeah, I think this might get removed from the book and become its own thing. One thing that I highly recommend is that you properly describe your podcast. And I believe that there are three ways that you need to be able to identify your podcast. And that's with a tagline, an elevator pitch, and a comparison. Your tagline should be something fun that gives a little bit of information away, but you might need the context of the show to fully understand it. For example, let's say I'm making a brand new podcast about skeletons that are playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Sure.
My tagline might be something like, "It's Bone Rolling Bones."
Love it. Bones Rolling Bones is good.
Yeah, or playing out new lives in the afterlife. Doesn't tell you exactly what the show is, but it's catchy enough that you might want to listen to it.
Yeah.
The elevator pitch is something that describes your entire podcast in 2 sentences. This comes from the idea of being locked in an elevator with someone that's from like the film industry, and you had to sell your movie in just an elevator ride.
Yeah.
So like famously, Speed, the movie Speed, the elevator pitch for that is it's Die Hard on a bus.
Yeah.
Doesn't tell you everything about Speed. There's much more to Speed, but it's everything you need to know. Yeah. So for this imaginary podcast I'm coming up with, I might say something like, role-playing games played through the eyes of the undead.
Fun.
Then I recommend the comparison, which should follow this format because it gives all the information you need to know. My show is name. It is about information. It is kind of like similar podcast, except, and then what sets you apart from other podcasts.
Love it.
So my podcast is called Humorous Roleplay. It's about skeletons playing D&D. It's kind of like the Adventure Zone, but they're not just hosts, they're also skeletons themselves.
Fun. Yeah, I'm sold.
Right.
You got me.
You need to be able to do that with your podcast. So the podcast that you're planning to work, you need to come up with those 3 things. You need your tagline, your elevator pitch, and your comparison. Now, as a warm-up, we'll do that with one of the podcasts from the list.
All right.
I'm going to need a number from the group. And what we're going to do is we are going to set the timer now for 4 minutes.
Okay.
We're going to have a minute of silent reflection on trying to figure out what's a good tagline and what's a good elevator pitch for this. And we're not going to talk about it. And then once the podcast starts, We're going to try to work them into our show, but not step on each other's toes. So this is a bit of an exercise in making sure we're feeling our flow and not stepping on each other. But we got to figure things out. Do we have a number from the chat, please?
Chat, hit us with the number. What's the number range?
I said 1 to 60.
1 to 60.
20.
We got 23. We got 23.
Number 23. Oh, this is fun. Our podcast, and I'm going to hit start, and then we are going to silently think for a minute. It's called That Looks Good. It's a book club podcast for restaurant menus.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Sorry, did you cut out? Are we done with the minute?
Yeah, we can go.
Okay. Tagline, feast your eyes on this. This is a show. My show is called That Looks Good.
That looks good.
It's a podcast where people go through the menu of various restaurants and try to find the hidden gems. Try to find the odd and interesting items on the menu. It's a little bit like diners, drive-ins, and drives, except by people that have never eaten at the restaurant in question.
Excellent. So I'm glad to be here and be part of the show. We should have pulled up a menu. What menu would you like to peruse for this podcast?
I mean, it is the games we made along the way. There's only one menu that is appropriate.
You want to look at the Taco Bell menu?
Pulling out the Taco Bell menu.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and review the menu of the Taco Bell. Go ahead and go to my absolute favorite website, ta.co.
That can't be real.
That's real. That takes you to TacoBell.com. Did you not know that?
God.
We're gonna look at the menu here.
I'm shaking.
First off, really love the color palette.
Love the color palette. Love the color palette.
Like the fading purple is very cool.
I'm here at the Taco Bell online exclusive.
Oh, you know what? I was drawn to the same spot. I'm
excited that there are online exclusive items. But honestly, I'm looking at this. Our online is the My Cravings box, which I'm gonna have to take a look at. I think It is in fact a build your own cravings box. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good touch. But the other items are the quesarito, the black bean quesarito, and the black bean chalupa. None of those feel like they should be online exclusives.
Yeah, it definitely doesn't feel like. I also feel like they're not putting their best foot forward, because the first thing I see is My Craving box sodium warning.
Yeah, the big giant sodium warning is probably a legal thing, but
yeah, I don't. But like, bury that at the bottom. Like, I'm at Taco Bell. I'm happy to be here. I don't want to be reminded about what a terrible decision I'm making. So like, don't start with the sodium warning. It's the first thing you see.
Let's see. What else can I pull up that's going to be really, really interesting? I got to go to specialties.
Specialties is where I want it to go. We're reading each other's minds.
We're reading each other's minds. I feel like that's the sign of I'm looking at the menu and those. I mean, you know, once I'm looking at the online exclusives, I gotta hit. I'm excited. The Naked Chicken Chalupa is back.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what else is on here that feels like that feels unexpected.
Here let's let the Naked Chicken Chalupa. I'm gonna click on that and see if we can get some more in-depth backstory on it. Not a lot of information here. See, I'd love to hear like, oh wait a minute, don't judge a book by its cover.
Yeah, they got a whole.
See, this is what I want. I want to know the story of my meal here. But let's be honest here. There are things that are just plain obvious at face value. Like, you're really telling the story. That was the timer there.
Jeff, how'd you feel about that podcast? feel like the pitch was great, and I feel like the content did not live up to the pitch.
No, I don't. It's a weird topic. I will say once again, we forgot to say who we were.
Also true.
What was the tagline you came up with though?
Feast your eyes on this.
Feast your eyes on this. I like that. Feast your eyes because it's about reading and stuff like that.
And it's about food.
I think that was very clever. What was your elevator pitch in there?
The elevator pitch was where the hosts go over various menus of various restaurants and try to find the hidden gems and the delightful oddities that are buried deep in the menus of your favorite restaurants.
Yeah, I like the wording of that. I think that's tasteful. So now this was supposed to be like the big twist, right? Mm-hmm. It comes up here. You listen to that first minute first, that silent minute, and you listen to how loud your space is. Because I think that is something that people constantly forget when they make their podcast is, hey, background noise sucks. I remember when we recorded your first Party of One in your apartment, I was like, you got to turn off your fridge, right?
Yeah, because we recorded directly next to the fridge.
Yeah, we recorded right next to the fridge, and I believe we were told not to unplug it. I was like, no, just turn this knob; it'll shut off the fridge.
Yes.
And the very common podcasting problem, which is in my notes here, is always remember to set an alarm to turn your fridge back on.
If you hadn't told me to do that day, we would have come back from that night because we left my apartment after that. I would have come back to a lot of melted objects and Jen being very angry at me.
Yeah, there are two types of podcasters. There's the podcasters that have bad background noise and buzzing, and the podcasters that have accidentally ruined a fridge full of food.
Yeah. Yep.
And if you want to be a good podcaster, you want to be part of that second group.
Ideally, yeah. You're gonna think I'm the third group, but let me tell you something. There's not a third group.
There's not a third group. You're one or the other. So now we're going to focus on noise. The problem is with a podcast, you're constantly talking, and you're always looking for the words, but you want to avoid the erms and ums of the world. Or there's a lot of people. This is mostly a shot at stand-up comedians I know that have a bad case of the fucks. Don't have fucks. These are the people that talk and say things like, so I went to the fucking store. It's the worst thing in the world of podcasting. So we're going to do another 3 minutes. I'm going to need another number.
We got 59.
You want 59?
Well,
we got 59.
We got 59.
And the goal of this is to try to remember the things that we've learned before, and I'm ruining it now. We're also going to try to avoid all ums and erms and filler words. I don't want to do this one because it's stupid. We drew That Mustard, which is a podcast about the hottest mustards.
Okay.
I value the pun, but I don't want to do that one. So we'll go one above it, and we'll do Hypno Holds Barred, a podcast of two hypnotists trying to hypnotize each other at the same time.
Okay. Love it.
All right. So we'll do another 3 minutes. Boom, boom, boom. Take us away, Jeff.
The squared circle just got a lot more swirled. Hypno Holds Barred is a head-to-head competition podcast starring Mesmero the Great and Dr. Pocket Watch. two of the greatest hypnotists that have ever lived. They are going to go head to head. They are going to square off and see who is the world's greatest hypnotist. This is it's a little bit like the UFC, except for a much more interesting and ethically challenging art form. With that said, let's cut over to the competitors right now.
Dr. Pocket Watch here. How are you doing today, sir?
I am doing wonderfully well. Are you doing okay? You look tired. You look sleepy. You look sleepy.
I don't think I'm sleepy.
You look like your eyelids are getting heavy.
No.
Don't you just?
That's
feel like
a
you wanna
big
yawn,
yeah. Go
maybe?
ahead.
You feel like you wanna yawn, maybe?
And yawn and relax there for a little bit. How much time are we going for here? Are we going? Let me just pull out my watch. Hold on. Let me just take a look at how long do we want to go? How long do you want to go?
I think that we just want to go like a tight 10 minutes, like a tight.
Okay.
Really like.
So what time is it now? Look at the watch as it moves.
I don't. What time? Like, it's more of a stopwatch situation than a pocket watch situation. But I will tell you, if you want to keep track of how much longer, you could just maybe count it down from 20 minutes, 19 minutes, 59 seconds, 58 seconds, 57 seconds.
Right.
56 seconds.
I just. Ooh. Oh boy. I just. I had a thought recently. I was walking down the street and I passed this building. There was a white room and everything was white. Everything was just bare. The walls were white, the floor was white, the ceiling was white. I want you to try to picture this because it was crazy. Yeah. Just picture it. It was just all white.
Did something happen in this room, or
I'm getting there. Just focus on the white room. It's completely bare. It's completely barren, and it's completely white.
What's the thing that I guess what I'm getting caught up on is this idea of you without telling me action. All I'm picturing is emptiness. All I'm picturing is perfect stillness.
Yeah,
can you imagine? Picture what a disappointing story it is to just picture perfect stillness. Picture perfect stillness.
Yeah, it's just that perfect stillness. But I want you. Here's the thing: in the middle of the room, there was a box, and that was 3 minutes.
End of round 1. Let's go to our competitor.
I'm pretty tired. I'm pretty honest. I'm pretty sleepy right now.
Oh, great competitor. Brought his really got a lot of respect. Got a lot of respect for Dr. Pocket Watch. Great opponent. Really think that we're doing some great stuff here. Really think that we're going to elevate this combat sport. Really think this is an important night in the history of our sport. Really excited to go into round 2.
Dr. Pocket Watch is a great name.
I was very happy with Dr. Pocket Watch.
So I'm going to ask how we did with our ums and ahs. I think we did decently well in that we were so frantic in trying to hypnotize.
Which is actually like a very real consideration to put on the podcasting hat for a moment. Yeah. This is Jeff the podcaster breaking out here. There is a very interesting thing that it is a very interesting line to walk, eliminating ums and ahs, and the reason is that sometimes ums, ahs, likes, etc. can disrupt the flow of conversation, can disrupt the manner of speaking. But there are also times where if you continue to speak without any sort of phrase interruption, your speech starts to sound a little alien and starts to sound a little bit pre-recorded. And you'll notice that I was trying to go for that and my body instinctually threw one in just to break up that space and break up that thought.
Yeah, so you sound like a person?
Yeah, eventually if you painstakingly remove every instance of like, pausing, you eventually start to sound a little bit alien, a little bit pre-recorded, a little bit canned. And actually, as you start to listen to this, you start to become the listener a little bit uncomfortable with what I'm saying because it sounds so straightforward and so unrehearsed that eventually you kind of realize that, oh, I need to hear a pause because this starts to sound alien to me.
Yes, that's actually what comes up next in the writing is the talking about editing. But also that most audio editors like your Audacity and stuff have the silence remover tool. and how it's so tempting to use it, but it
Yep.
ruins your podcast. Because then everything just runs together, and then nobody has a pause of thought, and then you, as a listener, don't have time to think about things because it just goes on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
Yeah, periods exist in language for a reason.
100%. This is again, podcaster Jeff. Like, it is so tempting to butcher that silence removal tool, but like,
Yes.
it is it's a valuable tool. It's a tool that I think is good. That if you use it with a gentle hand, can actually make things flow really nicely. But like that urge to just be like, no, never silence, zero silence. It can single-handedly destroy the thing that you make.
Yes, because a big thing I used to be guilty of is noise removal.
Mm-hmm.
And basically I would just find a moment where like there was silence, and I would get like the sound profile and then be like, all right, remove that noise from everything, in the idea that it would just make everything sound crisp, and it just kind of makes everything a little muffled.
Yeah.
Because there's a podcast we used to do years ago, if we're going way back in time, a little thing called Keeping the Fave, which sounds like a podcast I'd do on this game here.
Can you put that on the list just as a little tiny thing to
Keeping the Fave? Yeah, I'll tie that back in.
just put it in just for my own sake, as a little touch of our shared history.
Yeah, so Keeping the Fave was a podcast you could still listen to. I think only 2 or 3 episodes ever came out.
I have a story, but I'll tell you after
Yeah,
this.
where we would review WWE pay-per-views, but we pretended we were patients in an underground bunker in Arizona that didn't know wrestling was fake.
Yeah.
So everything that we saw, we believed in complete earnesty, and like there was this weird underlining plot about this like evil company that was like suppressing our brains or something. But we ended up kind of stopped doing the show because we lost an episode to me constantly trying to get rid of the sound of your background.
No, actually, I in retrospect, it took years for me to realize what the audio you lost your mind trying to remove was. And it took me spending a long time editing audio in Audacity to realize what had happened. And Noah, I have to confess to you on mic that I single-handedly killed Keeping the Fave. I didn't mean to.
Wait, what?
I have a very clear memory of recording the 3rd episode of this podcast, tapping the bottom of the little like stand on which the microphone was thing, seeing a little tiny line pop up in Audacity and go, oh, that is neat. And then afterwards you were like, there's this weird tapping noise that I can't figure out. And at the time I was like, I have no idea what could have caused that.
Oh.
And it wasn't until years later that I started working in Audacity that I realized weird little lines like that are the result of somebody messing up the audio. And I was like, oh my God, I destroyed this podcast audio. Oh my God, it was all my fault.
Because I thought it was a fan. Because what I ended up doing, like, I kept trying to just do sound removal. And it just got to a point where, like, the sound was gone and so was our voices. And I was like, oh, you can't understand any of this anymore. And, like, I had saved it. So I was like, oh, I can't undo it anymore. Well, this is dead. This was fun for 2 episodes.
Well, you know what, though? The average podcast, this is a podcast fact that might actually already be in the book, but is a good podcast fact to keep in your mind, Noah, and also for the listeners, for the podcasters at home. Do you know what the average length of a podcast is?
7 episodes.
7 episodes.
Yes. This exercise is meant to last 7 episodes. So when you start your podcast, you're starting on episode 8. So you're starting better than your average podcaster. I had that coming.
Well, I'm glad that I could cut you off at the knees.
Yes, thank you. So now that we've done the stuttering exercise, one of the reasons that there are so many stutters is because you don't know what you're going to say. And there's a huge problem that for some reason, people don't want to discuss their episode with their co-host until they start recording. So many times have I started a conversation and been responded with, save it for the show. It's like, but no.
No.
This is important that we get this out. We all know where we're going. I might
Yeah.
have a good joke that I want to make sure we get to. So this time, we're actually going to plan. We're going to pick our random podcast. Go ahead and throw me a number if you're in the chat.
Chat, hit us with a number.
And before we record, we're going to have a little discussion on how we're going to go about this podcast. And that is going to improve our skills. That number is way too high.
Well, 4 plus 17 is 21.
21. Oh, okay. So we will do...
We should have specified the number range.
That's true. That's true. Could you imagine if I had over 400 examples for this show? Like, I was like, yeah, I wrote 400 different podcasts. We're going to pick them at random. But I appreciate the number. We'll do number 21. We added them together. The number we got was 417, for those who can't see it. But that's going to be Enter Our Domain, a musical podcast that covers public domain songs.
Okay.
So
Love it.
So before we get started, Jeff, are we doing characters or do you want to be yourself?
I feel like this is a podcast where we would want to be ourselves or a version of ourselves that felt like we could comfortably talk about this.
Okay. What song would you like to do, Jeff?
Let me think. Let me look at popular public domain music.
Well, you got Happy Birthday, which is a new one that just became public domain a few years ago. You got Camptown Races. That's a great one. I will ask the chat. Chat, do you have a favorite?
Chat, do you have a public domain song you'd like to see us talk about for 3 minutes? Because if we don't get an answer, we'll go with Happy Birthday, because I think that feels like, and this is the discussion. This is us doing the exercise and discussing beforehand. I think that's a good one to go in because it's new, and because it is like a recent entry into the world of public domain music.
Okay. That's a good opening episode.
We got What to Do with a Drunken Sailor.
Ooh!
Good one.
That is a good one. What do you do with a drunken sailor? We'll do that one.
Thank you, John Adams.
What to do with a drunken
Sailor.
All right.
Now, is this one where we listen to it and discuss it? Or is this one where we talk about the history of it? Is it both? Is it neither?
I mean, what do you think this show is? Is it a review or is it a deep history, deep dive?
I feel like it's got to be a deep history dive, because if we're talking public domain music, and specifically these are almost always songs with history.
Gotcha. All right, I'm for that. Are you ready to record, or you want to?
I am ready to record.
All right. Go.
Welcome all to the most musically keyed in podcast in the world. This is Welcome to My Domain, a public domain history and review podcast focused on the world of music. My name is Jeff Stormer. I'm joined today by Noah Houlihan.
Woohoo!
Noah, how are you doing today?
I feel like a drunken sailor, Jeff.
Well, that's great, because today we're going to find out what to do with a drunken sailor early in the morning.
Yes.
That is the song of the day. Noah, what's your relationship to this song in particular?
It's one of those songs, like most of the songs we cover here on the show, where I've heard it a million times, and in looking at the lyrics, I've been singing it wrong for years. Way, hey, and up she rises. I don't remember that at all.
I don't remember that at all.
And also, shave his belly with a rusty razor. I always thought I was mishearing, but that is actually the lyrics to this song.
Yes, there's a lot but similar to you. This is a song that my background is I have culturally absorbed it, and this is the first time I'm actually thinking about any of the things that are in these lyrics.
Yes, and it's very interesting in looking it over. It doesn't rhyme. It's
It
just
doesn't.
the
It
same
doesn't.
line repeated over. And
What
over
else is
again.
interesting is it doesn't rhyme, and like the lyrics. I'll read a few lyrics for the listeners.
Yes,
So
do it.
there's things like chuck him in the longboat till he's sober, put him in the longboat and make him bail her. But then there's also give him a dose of salt and water. Like that's not. Those aren't really like the same length, and that's
No.
also what's confusing me is like the syllables, the meter is not consistent, and that feels very confusing to me.
Well, this is of course a drinking song, so by
It
not
is.
not making it too complicated, by keeping it as something where it's very simple, and if you don't know the lyrics, when I say, put him in the bed with the captain's daughter, you now know I'm going to say that two more times.
Two more times, and
so
I
if you
say I
didn't know the
join in.
lyrics, you're right there with me early in the morning.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think of sailors being such morning folk, because all of this takes place early in the morning.
I believe the idea. I believe the idea is that you have found the sailor. The sailor, I don't believe, because the idea is like you are doing this to the sailor early in the morning. I believe the idea is that the sailor has gotten so drunk the night before that you
gotcha.
are doing this to essentially punish the sailor and get them kind of back into a working shape.
Excellent. And that will be 3 minutes. I'm going to be honest. This sounds like a podcast.
That sounded like a podcast.
Yeah.
Which is the most damning insult that I can give it.
Like I could totally.
What's the Undertale line? Despite everything, it sounds like a podcast.
Like the idea of that podcast, I was like, I bet that's interesting, but who would do that? And then just like as we were doing it, I was like, I would totally do this podcast. I would totally
So
just be like, we're
this
gonna
is
do
actually this is a
hardcore
shout out.
research.
This is a shout out to Matt Allcamp, I believe, does a podcast that is very similar to this. I think it's Every Folk Song Ever, where he's been doing very similar things with old public domain folk music. So yeah, these
That's
podcasts
interesting.
exist, and I've
I'm
listened
sorry
to them
that I
and enjoyed
stole
them.
that from Matt Allcamp.
You know what? It happens. No original ideas.
Yeah, there are no original ideas. So then this is we were supposed to reflect on how important planning was, and I definitely felt like we went in there with more of a plan, and it teaches the lesson that planning is good. So we'll do one more of these.
We'll do one more.
And it's very simply just do it again.
Okay.
The next lesson. Do it again. So go ahead and hit us with another number, and we'll do one more.
Chat, give us a number between 1 and 60. Or I guess 61, since you've added a 61st entry on the list. We got 53.
I feel like once this is done, or like this is definitely not done yet, so we are going to like continuously add to this list. Like for some reason when I started, I was like, I want 250, and I was like, there's no way I'm coming up with 250 before this. So this one, I like this one as well. This one is called Kindly Stopping. This is the Grim Reaper interviewing those being taken to the land of death.
Okay.
So I'll have you be the Grim Reaper here in this podcast. So we're kind of doing like a storytelling thing. So who should I be that you're taking to the land of death here?
This is the planning part of it. Is it ordinary people? Is it historical figures? And the other thing is this is a comedy podcast or more of an introspective
What would you want it to be, Jeff? It's your podcast.
I mean, I love sadness and being sad, but I don't know if that is a popular.
You're
stance to
definitely
take.
more into the sadness, so I mean, like we can make it sad.
I feel like there's probably funny episodes and sad episodes, and I feel like if I've got Noah here, I'm gonna want it to be a funny episode because you are a funny comedian.
All right, that makes sense.
So the question is there a character? Is there a character, either a historical figure, a person, or like a fictional character that you want to play and want to watch carried off into death?
I'm trying to think if there's a historical figure that I know well enough to pull off as a character. Wait.
We are literally on stream right now, and I can't throw out any of the names that I want to throw out for you to be this theoretical podcast guest.
I have an amazing one. I would like to be Jacob Marley.
Okay, Jacob Marley's good. Jacob Marley is very, very good. Very, very good.
From A Christmas Carol.
I wish I had a notebook or a clipboard or something.
That's what you picture death as being very like accounting, like not the scythe. The scythe wasn't where your mind went.
No, clipboard. With Jacob Marley in particular, clipboard is where I go.
All right. Are you ready to record?
I'm ready to record.
All right, 3 minutes, go.
Welcome, guests living and otherwise, to the last podcast you'll ever need to hear. What was it called?
Kindly Stopping.
Kindly Stopping with me, Death, the Grim Reaper. I'm going to interview guests, and this is my guarantee to you, the listener. I'm going to get some juicy interviews because I get guests that have nothing else to hide because as of tomorrow, any secrets they had are coming out. Today, I am joined by a philanthropist and a business owner from Victorian England. Okay, that's interesting. I have here a Jacob Marley. Jacob, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Where am I? What's happening?
Oh, it's going to be one of these interviews. Great.
Why are my pockets empty?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Do you ever hear the saying, you can't take it with you? That applies to all of... In fact, actually, that's... I hate this podcast to be when I have to deliver bad news to someone, but we'll get to that. How are you doing today?
I woke up with a bit of a cough, but it seems to be gone now.
Tuberculosis. That tracks. That sounds right. Cool, great. So it says here that you are a business. You own a factory.
Say that again. Repeat the question, please.
It says here you own a factory. Is that correct?
Yes, I own a factory indeed.
Excellent,
yes.
excellent. Unfortunately, so I have to. I have to let you know as an interviewer. I'm not going to let you off the hook. I have to ask some hard questions. Are you prepared for a lifetime of wearing heavy chains to embody the greed that chained you to this earth?
Whoa! I'm an old man. I couldn't possibly.
Well,
why the chains? Why the chains?
Do you want an itemized list? Because I could just run down the list here.
Please explain.
Let's see. I've got Does 418 counts of worker exploitation sound right?
Yes, of course. I've worked my men to the bone.
Yep. See, as you can see, there are 418 chains right there. I see wage theft. It's underlined 3 times. Is that that seems like a lot of underline.
Why should they be paid? You know how long it took them to shut down that orphanage?
I'm just gonna add a 4th underline here. I think that's probably fine. I have here just it says hating Christmas. I feel like there's like that, there's a lot of complicated reasons for that, but for the fact for it to be on this list means it can't be a good one.
That's 3 minutes. I could do this podcast with you every week.
Yeah, with a new character.
With a new character. Just like, yeah, and you're dead.
Yeah, you're dead. That was very funny. I think the planning helped us a lot. I think we hit the 5 beats right at the top of the. I think we introed the show really strongly. I think that was actually a really good. I think that was a good outing, frankly.
Yeah, I think that was a really good outing. So the lesson of that one is supposed to be you've done this a few times now.
Yeah.
And when you're actually doing this and you're not doing a show, you would be listening back every time.
Yeah, and hearing.
It's to teach you the lesson of like you are going to spend so much time listening to your own voice.
I like that.
If
I really like that.
Like that, you're in for a bad time. But now is the time that you've learned enough of the tools that you can try the show that you wanted to make. So you up for your shit posting show?
I'm up for Inside the Shit Poster Studio.
All right. So we'll give it 3 minutes. Just
Give 3 minutes.
At this point, you're not supposed to set time. You're supposed to like give yourself a pilot. But we're gonna do 3 minutes because we're doing a completely different show right now.
Yeah.
So 3 minutes. Let's do shit posting. Anything we need to talk about before we start recording?
You're being the guest, correct?
Okay. Yeah. So you're gonna look through my tweets.
I have already pulled up one of your tweets to talk about.
All right, excellent. I'm very excited for this. So I'll be me.
Just to be clear, you are okay with me pulling up any of your tweets, any tweet that you've made in the last, we'll say 3 months.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay, perfect, good. You've answered the question you've answered a question for me in a way that I'm about to spring on you in a very fun way.
All right, let's record. Take it away,
Okay.
Jeff.
Twitter is an ephemeral art form, but this is the show that makes it last forever. Welcome to Inside the Shitposter Studio, where we look at people's worst contributions to the public discourse. Today, I am joined by pro wrestling Scott Holiday. Scott, thank you so much for joining the show.
Great to be here.
Scott, so this is Inside the Shitposter Studio. This is where we pull up one or more random tweets, Instagram posts, weird things that you have written on the internet, and we asked to talk through your process. Scott, are you ready? Are you ready to take part in the journey today?
Scott Holiday's here and he's ready to go. What do you pull up there, Jeff?
Great. So the tweet that I've got for you today is, I guess we swear now, heck but darn, hashtag frog sport.
Yes, yeah.
Talk us through the process.
So I was watching Frog Sport.
Obviously.
Yes. And
Can't Believe Frog presents Frog Sport.
Yeah, Can't Believe Frog.
Matt Mikowski's Frog Sport.
Yeah. Be sure to check that out. That's available right now on Independent Wrestling TV. Fantastic show. We were doing more of a blood sport type rules, and we had a huge death match between Edith Surreal and Masha Slamovich. Masha, excuse me. And,
great match. Honestly, fantastic match.
Oh, an amazing death match in the snow. It was incredible.
Very good match.
And Masha's tongue is a bit harsher than our normal camp counselors that I'm used to dealing with, and let loose a couple F-bombs. And I was not ready for it. And then after that, we had a match where it was Devontis and Jet, I believe. Yeah, it was definitely Jet, but I believe he was tagging with Devontis. And he cut a small promo where he just let loose a bunch of swear words. And I was just so shocked to hear more swears out of Frog Sport and Camp Leapfrog that I was just like, oh, I guess we're a swearing company. I used to work for another company that had no swearing. So hearing a lot of swearing was not something I was used to. So I made a little bit of a comment about how we're swearing now. But I still don't swear. So I went with the harshest swears that I knew.
I appreciate the commitment. I appreciate your commitment to not swearing. That made me happy. So that I feel like that is an interesting perspective. How do you feel knowing that even though you don't swear, that you have the freedom to it? That's got to be an interesting feeling.
I mean, I choose not to. I feel like swears are very much a finishing blow. So if you're using the F word and then you have more stuff to say, you've wasted the F word. And that's been 3 minutes. And man, I was hopping between personalities during that conversation right now. Because just again, how the sausage is made. Unfortunately, the way that we set this up, Jeff can't see me.
Well, no, I'm watching the Twitch stream.
Oh, did you watch me morph into Scott Holiday?
I did. I did.
I need Scott energy now.
I did watch you morph into.
Hey!
Now let me tell you. Let me say this, because I was very pleased with myself. Let me ask you: did you know that I was going to pull out a Scott Holiday tweet?
I actually I almost asked the question, like, you're going to use @+2 comedy for this, right? Because I was a little afraid that you might use the Stay Doomed Twitter, which is not me.
No. Because I was when we talked about it earlier in the planning that we do.
Yes.
You had said that you wanted to be the guest, and for me to read your tweets, you wanted me to host this. So I was like, what's going to be the funniest tweet? Not that Noah has written, but to force Noah to talk about for several minutes. I was like, that is going to be a Scott Holiday tweet, and that is very funny. So I had to like go in and like scroll through and be like, all right, here's your double or nothing live tweets. Like, what's just a funny one-off thing that Scott Holiday has tweeted with no context that is going to force him into a weird position.
Well, I will say, like, when that happened, like, I was so on the outs of Leapfrog. Not like I was, like, excommunicated. I just hadn't, like, started working.
Right, you hadn't been working with them.
Or doing anything, so I was just like, I'm going to throw my opinion that we shouldn't swear. And, like, that was one of those tweets where I sent it, and I was like, that was petty. Probably shouldn't have said that. Like,
I didn't read it.
On what we're
I didn't read it as such. I thought it was a cute reference to the swearing, and frankly, I am happy to hear all of my beautiful Leapfrog children swear again. It makes me happy.
But yeah, check out Camp Leapfrog. It's great.
It might be my favorite wrestling promotion right now.
Yeah, we got a show coming out next month called Killian Vision that I actually worked on. So
there's also Abby Jane's 21st birthday party on August 8th.
August 8th in I don't know if we've
in
announced
Williamstown.
the location. It was in Williamstown. I was like,
it has been announced
to give away secrets.
No, it got announced. The only reason I know about it is because it was announced. It's in Williamstown. It's a doubleheader with the IWTV 100th defense of the Independent Wrestling Championship.
Yes. So
which is great.
Yeah, check that out as
Especially because we already have tickets to that show, so may as well make it a doubleheader.
Yeah, that's gonna be great. I'm gonna be there. Scott's gonna be there. I won't be. Scott will be there.
Scott will be there.
So that's the game. This is gonna become a book at this point because it's meant to just kind of like get you going and thinking like.
I love it. I genuinely love it. I love it as a bunch of simple exercises to help get into the headspace of making a podcast. I feel like having read at least one book that was aggressively bad at teaching someone how to make a podcast, and I'm not going to say who wrote it, but it was written by three brothers from West Virginia that shall remain nameless.
Ooh.
It wasn't aggressively bad. I think it's fine.
Yeah.
But I think making simple exercises to be like, hey, this is a very real podcasting lesson, and this is a very real exercise that will help like teach that is very, very good.
Yeah, I like this as a concept of, because again, you kind of taught me like games can be anything.
Yeah.
So the idea of like making it a game where you are actually sharpening your own skills.
It's great. I love it. I'm all about it.
But like the more I wrote, like, because I was writing and I was like, we haven't gotten to gameplay yet, and I'm still just writing. I was like, I wrote a book. Whoops.
Love it.
So it's not done. So it's not like usually the gimmick of this show is we stick it up on itch.io and you can buy it like right after this show premieres on YouTube. That's probably not going to happen. Nor do I know if this goes to itch.io. This might go to Amazon. I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. But I definitely like some of the ideas here. I'm going to give away some of my favorite podcasts that we had here. Let's see. We had Rock, Paper, Scissors, and Beyond, a podcast about adding more rules to Rock, Paper, Scissors. I like that one. Fight Club Sandwich, about where we discuss different sandwiches fighting in a cage match. I got a few friends submitted a few. So I have CSI Psychiatrists, where psychiatrists are reviewing CSI. Big fan of that one. Get in the Pit, a podcast about hardcore music and barbecuing.
Love it.
My buddy Mike Taylor gave me that one. I think the two I'm most upset we didn't get to do were the 13th Ghost, which is the 13th ghost out of the 999 that live in Disney's haunted house or haunted mansion, doing interviews with other guests.
That's very good. That's very funny.
Thank You for Not Calling, which was two psychics interview a listener using their powers.
Very good. Very, very good.
And Amusing Oscar Bait, where podcasters get together to reimagine Oscar-winning movies as amusement park rides.
Okay.
I was really hoping we could do that one. It's like, so Gandhi.
What is the amusement guy? I love that. That's very funny.
So yeah, I'm going to be adding many more to this list. And there's also going to be the other games. There's going to be a party mode where you just kind of do these podcasts for fun and try to create the best podcast possible, and people vote on what's the best. And what was my other game? There's another... and like the improv game where it's like keep telling the same story through different podcasts.
I love it. I love it. That's very good.
So we forgot to do this last time. What do you think I should sell this for?
I think this is a solid $10 thing.
You think so? Because it's a full book?
It's a full game. It's a full book. Sell the shit out of it.
All right.
Honestly, $10 is probably undercharging, but that's like my guideline of like, this is a finished thing.
We'll go $9.99.
Yeah.
So there's one more bit of business now.
Yes, there is. I'm excited.
We're going to meet up in a month, and hopefully it'll be actually a month and not over a month like it was this time, because this game took me forever. In a month, we will get together to play a brand new game that Jeff will create with a mechanic that of my choosing.
What's next? I hit you with a tough one last time, so I'm ready. I'm ready to go.
You did, and let me tell you, I was considering like trying to give you something like really out there. Like it's like I want you to create something, with the concept of gravity or something like that. But I was trying to just go out there and like really think of an out there idea. And I had that word out there and just like reaching out in my mind. And then this concept just kind of burned its way into my brain. I was like, you know what? I'll hand this off to Jeff. There's a lot of games that already use another game as its mechanic. Like we talk about that tumbling tower.
Yep.
I would like you to create a game that uses a Ouija board.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
So perhaps during this game, a third player will appear and speak to us through the board. And perhaps when we record this one, we could be in the same room.
Oh my God. Maybe.
Yeah. We might be in a situation where we can be humans again. Isn't that something?
I'm not ready, frankly.
You got a month.
We got a month. All right. All right. I'm ready. I'm ready. I can do this. I can deliver this.
Yeah. And I believe in another month, Taco Bell that's being built by my house will be done.
Damn.
Yeah.
Damn.
Everything's coming up Millhouse. It's great.
What a world.
So you're gonna make a game that has a Ouija board in it.
Yep.
Actually, before I was just about to close the show, but you got to get your plugs in. What are your plugs?
You can find me at jeffstormer.com. You can find me on Twitter at Party of One Pod, and you can find the podcast that I do, Party of One, at partyofonepodcast.com.
Yes, and if you're interested in me, you can subscribe, or you can follow me right here on Twitch, +2 Comedy. You can also go over to +2 Comedy Gaming, where you might be watching this right now, and you can subscribe right here to +2 Comedy Gaming and catch up on all my past live streams. Also check out my podcast. It's Stay Doomed. I do it with Laura Prince. We watch shows that ran one season or less and decide if they could be resurrected, should be resurrected, or if they should just stay doomed. And you can check that out on +2 Comedy on YouTube, and also +2 Comedy on Podbean, and also wherever podcasts are sold. I think we created something pretty cool here.
I think this is pretty cool.
I think we created a bunch of really cool podcasts. You're going to deal with a Ouija board. We're going to get some Taco Bell in the near future and possibly see each other in person again.
Yeah.
We've been through a lot, but you know what's really important, Jeff?
I do.
That would be the games we
made
along the way. Thanks, everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Boop.